Hello and welcome to Restoring Our American Republic. I'm Chuck Benoit with The Nature of Things, where we are realigning God, government, and natural law so that we might, well, restore our American Republic. Please post your comments to be part of the narrative. In our last live stream, I introduced Frederick Bastiat and his ideas of property and plunder. He then associated government programs that foster his ideas of plunder as legalized plunder or theft. Programs that begin with welfare and seem to end including concepts like the Green New Deal and government handouts to organizations that foster a certain product. Bastiat notes that the result of this governmental involvement with largesse at any level is legalized plunder. We would call it today legalized theft. He says it erases from everyone's conscience the distinction between justice and injustice. And Bastiat believes this behavior allows people to believe that things are just, they're just, well, because laws make them just. Like it's okay to kill a baby not yet born because the law, well, it says it's okay. Having had our judicial system hijacked by case law has done severe damage to our justice system. The idea that our Constitution means what a particular judge says it means. The total loss of what right and wrong is because we have been taught that they're defined by persons and not a divine creator. Natural law has been replaced with whatever we personally want to be right. We have recently seen the natural outcome of this with the indiscriminate killing of people that someone doesn't possibly agree with. Will America come to its senses before we lose our nation? Well, let's pray that we do. Today's guest we have with us today, Rocky Haag. He's a seasoned strategy operations leader with over 20 years of public and private sector experience. Over his career, Rocky has adeptly utilized his skills to foster corporate and community partnership that drives impact. Welcome, Rocky.
Great to see you. I'm
Yes,
glad
well,
to
it's
be here.
great, great. And before we get going, let's introduce Mike. Good morning, Mike Levine.
Morning, gentlemen. Great to be
Great,
with you
great.
guys today.
Great. Um, Now, Rocky, you are the director of external affairs of the Protein Biodiagnostics. Could you tell us a little bit about that company and what you're doing there?
Oh, absolutely, Chuck. I first met Dr. Tony Malioco of Protein Biodiagnostics about 2 years ago. At the time, I was working on staff for Representative Fred Hawkins, and Dr. Tony sent in an email one weekend night. This is back during the COVID days, seeking some assistance with just information on what was out there in the terms of government support for his enterprise. Um, in that email, Dr. Tony disclosed that Protein was using AI to help people who had cancer. Well, that was news to me because, quite frankly, I hadn't even heard of AI, and so it fascinated me. That led into a physical meeting at Dr. Tony's office there in Lake Nona at Protein, and I was so impressed. Dr. Tony shared with me his founder's story. I'm sure everyone within earshot is familiar with, when you start a business, you need you have a hero's journey as far as, a light bulb moment. And Dr. Tony had that. He was at the time, 6 years ago, he was working at a very prestigious cancer center in Florida. But he kind of outgrew that position, wanted to do more things for people. He's very people centric. We are at Protein. And I was supposed to meet with Dr. Tony for 15 minutes. That turned into a nearly 3 hour discussion. A week later, gentlemen, Dr. Tony had my resume on his desk. I felt that called. What Protein is doing is changing the world for people who wonder if they have cancer or if they have cancer. Also, if people are on treatment and they want to know how their efficacy as far as their treatment therapy is working, we can test for that. And when you're in remission, we also have annual cancer screening tests available to make sure people can whip cancer for good.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. You have quite a resume here. You were also a district secretary for Florida State Rep Fred Hawkins.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Oh, yeah, it was remarkable. I was based again in St. Cloud for Representative Fred Hawkins, and pleasure to serve him. In particular, I got to spend a lot of time with Tallahassee and leadership there, working in conjunction with Fred Hawkins, Rep. Fred Hawkins' ideas and legislative concepts. It was a thrill to serve him in the state. One of the things I really enjoyed about serving Rep. Fred Hawkins is we had the office located in downtown St. Cloud, you know, guys, down here in Osceola County and just below Kissimmee. And I happened to be in St. Cloud yesterday at Fat Boys Barbecue. And I ran in, you know, you just meet so many people when you're serving people. And I ran into a constituent I had originally sat down with 11 years ago in 2014. And it was just a thrill to reconnect. That's what drives me as service, whether I'm in the public sector or private sector. My primary desire is to energize the organizations or individuals I touch. I thrive on interpersonal communication, and I love to be on a mission. I'm mission specific primarily. The mission I'm on at present is to assist Protean with reaching as many people that have cancer questions as possible.
That's awesome. Again, just moving through a few of the other things on your resume here, that you were, until 2024, at least, the executive assistant at Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. Could you give us a little information about that?
Oh, absolutely. It was a thrill to serve the district. It's a small world. I actually had some communication on the district prior to me going there, and I was very excited to get the call saying, I was accepted to be able to submit my resume for consideration. The district was transforming at that time, and so it was a thrill to serve as the executive assistant to the director of communications there. I can't begin to tell you how much I learned that year with the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. I am so happy and proud to have served the district, the Board of Supervisors, and staff therein. I really was able to also, I took advantage of my new position there and really just tried to absorb new information and skills as much and as rapidly as possible. And it was really transformational. It was just an incredible year. I was really taught from the ground up as far as how to handle news information, put together press releases, information packets, at the 5-star level. And so I took full advantage of that opportunity and maxed it out. It was just incredible. And it really paved the way to my current position. So, what I would share with anyone in the workspace now, or anybody that's at a position where they're not necessarily absolutely happy with, focus on building your skills, focus on where you're planted, and you'll be surprised where you'll grow from there.
Awesome, awesome. Now, getting into a little bit of meat here, you have got quite a little bit of a resume there, and on your list here, you talk about MAGA and MAGA 2.0.
Yes.
Could you define what MAGA 2.0 is, and maybe what a little bit of what you think MAGA is first?
Yeah, very good question, Chuck. And it's essential to ponder this. Having been an active voter now for a number of years, I'm 65. I started voting at 18, I think, and I first saw what I believe MAGA is. I don't believe it belongs to a party or an organization in America. I believe MAGA is a populist ethos and worldview spirit. And I think America first encountered, and at least from my frame of reference, MAGA emerged in the form of Ronald Reagan. That was 1980, right? And so we saw Lady Liberty got a breath of freedom with Ronald Reagan. Now, and we had an incredible time under Ronald Reagan, and you kind of brought America back. What we have with the original MAGA trade, as far as nameplate with President Trump, and praise God for President Trump and his service, you can literally see President Trump is pouring out his life in essence before us. He's totally dedicated to working. Restoring the American dream is his foundation. I saw yesterday, I kid you not, Apple just committed hard to another, I believe it was 600, on top of what they already committed, I believe it's $600 billion manufacturing. I believe it's spread across 40 factories in the United States. I was stunned by that because I'm old enough, guys, to realize what the American dream was. Now, you know what the American dream was? Let's talk about my father's father, Grandpa Haag, up there in Pennsylvania, PA. He worked for 40 years for Dravos Steel, building ships, landing craft, whatnot, after the post-war years. For 40 years, he worked. I'm sorry, for I think 30 years, he worked 40 hours a week. His wife was a full-time housewife, raising children full-time, one wage. He did not worry about side hustles. What Papa Haag used to do in Bellevue, Pennsylvania, God bless him, is he'd come home from work. He'd go sit out on the porch and light a pipe. He owned his house. He owned a car on one wage. That is the American dream, right? So if you look at, I saw a startling chart recently, which charted the age of first-time homebuyers in America. And much to my surprise, for a long, long time, that age would vary between 28, 32 years of age. Well, after the government, and I blame both parties for this, after the implementation of, was it NAFTA? You just see the hollowing out of America, all the factories going away. I have a stapler that was made in Chicago. It still works. It's beautiful, made in the USA. And so what we see MAGA doing, what we see that, MAGA 1.0, the OG, President Donald Trump, he is the person who took the beachhead for MAGA, for America. So my vision, Chuck and Mike, from MAGA 2.0 is just essentially a state planning for the American dream. I would like to see MAGA not only continued, but extended to everyone in this nation, every party, man or woman, child, teenager, MAGA 2.0. And I'm building a philosophical, actually a theoretical framework that will, I believe, one day supplant the theory of relativity, which was Einstein's idea. And so I'm thrilled to be working in the MAGA 2 vision, and I'm so happy and proud of President Trump. Pray for him daily. And he's pouring himself out for us, guy. His body is on the barbed wire. It's up to us to get across that goal line.
Yeah, bringing MAGA all the way back to Ronald Reagan kind of puts me in a position where I can probably share a little bit about what I think MAGA is, and that is, I think MAGA is republicanism. You see, there's a difference. There's only two types of governance. One is top down and one is bottom up. Top down is anything from a dictator to an autocrat. Bottom up is we the people telling those who govern us how we can be governed. And Ronald Reagan governed for the people, and he was the last one really that did until President Trump. That's neither Republican nor Democrat have been governing us under a Republican form of government. So MAGA 1.0, I guess what you're saying is, the way I would articulate it, is a Republican form of government, which is what the Constitution demands, requires us to be governed under. And what you're saying in regard to Republican 2.0, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like you want that republicanism to be reinstitutionalized, that this is how we have to govern. We have to govern for the people, and that means we can no longer govern for special interests. What say you?
Totally concur, Chuck. My dream, I don't know if I'll live to see it, but I would like to put in place a time when whoever, man or woman, whoever's running for that White House position is going to be MAGA. They just don't know it yet. It's going to get in them. They can't stand it. It's infectious. It's positive. It's life-affirming. And I think that's our mission, to support President Trump on the beachhead. And we fortify him, we come behind him. And one of the big contributions is President Trump's hyper focus on American manufacturing, which is incredible. People don't give him credit for it. And I'm thrilled at the prospect of, high wage jobs coming back to, multiple cities in America. And thrilled to be here. I was talking to Mike last night. We are thrilled to be in. These are very interesting days we live in. These are days we're going to reflect on as we grow older. These are days our children will remember and say, remember what daddy or mommy did then for this or that. These are days when we need to make it count.
For sure, for sure. So moving off topic a little bit, you are very, sounds to me like you're a significant supporter of Robert F. Kennedy and his health freedom position. And that obviously sounds like it might tie into your cancer research organization too.
Yes, Chuck. Absolutely. What we have going on, in addition to the MAGA movement, is we have the Make America Healthy Again movement. I played a little bit part in it, I want to think. I got a call. I was a supporter of Robert Kennedy when he was actually running for president. And I got polled the Sunday evening by Secretary Kennedy, now his staff, when he was just Robert Kennedy. And they said, Rocky, what do you think about Trump and Kennedy? Which way are you going to go? And I was brutally honest with him. I said, I don't know. And I said, I just don't know. I love them both. I think they both have a unique vision. And we parted ways, we said goodnight. Well, much to my surprise, I'm sure he called a lot, that he and his staff called a lot of Republicans, Democrats, independents, whatever. But I think it was within 48 hours, all of a sudden, Robert Kennedy is part of MAGA. And I thought, this is incredible. I mean, in other words, think of it, gentlemen. You've got the Kennedy ethos, which was absolutely anti-establishment in their day. Both of them giving their lives to change America. They did. And so here we have, in essence, it's a beautiful story. And I think one day they should make a film on it. Here we have Robert Kennedy, who carries within his mouth the breath of the Kennedy American-esque world vision of true sacrifice, dedication to the cause, full commitment, full go, no stop. And I was thrilled to see when Robert Kennedy engaged and became part of the MAGA movement. And then what also thrilled me was his particular vision in the healthcare space. You know, guys, the swamp has many villages, many types of creatures, many hazards. There's probably eight different swamp creatures, all of them deadly, literally hazardous to life, idea. And here we have Robert Kennedy stationed in the healthcare swamp. And so thank you for bringing it up, Chuck, because what we need to do now as people who believe in health freedom, whatever party you are, just remember first, you're an American. Do what's best for your children. Do what's best for your parents. Let's see. We have a brief opening, maybe a couple months to seal Robert Kennedy's forward motion. This is very similar in a football game where you get down by the goal line. You're on the 1 yard line. You got to get in there. And, sometimes you see people come back and push somebody in. That's where we're at, guys. And so Kennedy's doing a heck of a job fighting the special interests who have done I could not give them a grade because they've been working going back to the days 60s, even the 60s and 70s. They've been working against the American healthcare system and people. I'll give you an example. Did you know, I believe by 1954, science had confirmed in Europe and America absolute causal evidence that smoking cigarettes caused lung cancer. Well, guess what? I was shocked to learn this the other day with AI, but did you know it? I believe it was the AMA, the establishment, was taking research dollars from big tobacco until 1972. Ponder that for a minute. Was that 20 years, almost 20 years of misinformation? How many people got cancer and died? So I'll stop there, but think about this, guys. So with all of that bad history, all of the bad experiences that we Americans have been through and put through, we're still alive, praise God. So we've got two beachheads to man up and girl up on, and that is healthcare monster and the remaining areas of the swamp that President Trump his body's on the barbed wire. So we need to move.
Mike, you've been a little quiet tonight, or this morning, I guess. Maybe I can invite
we had Rocky on for a reason. We wanted to get to know Rocky and see what's going on. So I've been, of course, Rocky is singing our music here, Chuck. We're big Trump supporters, MAGA supporters, all that. I think I can speak for Chuck that we're both big supporters of RFK Jr. and what he's doing. Of course, the CDC director was just recently fired, and now there's Senate hearings on the firing and all that, which is very interesting for those people who have had an opportunity to keep up with that. I'll just basically, echo what Rocky's saying, that it is crunch time. And obviously, with the, I hope everyone uses that the execution of Charlie Kirk is just shows how intense that it is, because the other side is feeling like Rocky's vision for our country is actually happening, and of course it is at their expense. So they're ramping up the ramparts and getting their getting their players involved, and now I'll just tell you for sure, without question, the major influencers on our side of the equation are in fear of their lives right now. They're all talking about how much, about what they're going to do from a security standpoint as they go out into the world and carry their message forward. And, each one of them handles it differently. But I will tell you right now that all of the major influencers on the conservative side of the equation are, in fact, in fear of their lives and are having to do that gut check, to determine how they're going to deal with the intensity of this conflict, Chuck.
For sure, for sure. We in our waning few minutes here of our program, I was kind of intrigued, and you might even begun to throw it out there, that you say you're developing a new philosophy called the theory of relevance.
Yeah.
Could you possibly give us an idea of what that means?
I use that, language is very powerful, gentlemen. Language is everything. Language transmits information, intention, vision. We need to all be very careful with our language, whether we're on Facebook, whether we're in person, whether we're on the phone. And I deliberately was just led to name my theory the theory of relevance, almost I don't want to be disrespectful to Einstein because he brought many fantastic technological improvements to life. But the theory of relativity also brought many horrible things in our century. He brought institutionalized death of various ideologies and forms of government and tyranny. So what my theory posits, gentlemen, is that every human being is relevant versus relative. Now it's a slight shift of view, but there's tremendous implications for humanity. Now I do not want to do away with the positive aspects of Einstein's theory of relativity. The experimentation which he provoked and perturbed gave us incredible things technologically, but however, what it also did was it ripped the Newtonian foundations, and it brought in all forms of rebellion in various spheres of American life and behavior, quite frankly, that it brought in, Darwin's idea that man is an animal, which I highly disagree with. I think men and women technically carry the same breath as Adam. Imagine that. All of us around the world, I don't care who you are. I don't care what nation you're in. You're related, and you're a child of God. This is my foundation. Men and women on this earth, I don't care who they are, what they've done, they have a spark of divinity. That is called made in the image of God. Therefore, the theory of relevance will expand. I've built somewhat of a framework. I believe I launched it Monday, and I built a little bit of a framework, and then what I'm suggesting is technically what I'm also announcing. I must agree. I'm amazed at my own vision, but I technically also announced the death of world government. I think this is going to tie in with MAGA 2.0. MAGA 2.0 eventually will go away. It's a vehicle.
Awesome. Well, believe it or not, we are at the end of our time. Mike, I was wondering if you would like to just give us some closing comments.
Yes, great. Thank you. And, again, I really loved what Rocky just said about his theory of relevance, because that's exactly, my worldview as well. And I mean, that's exactly what it is. Every human life is important. I'm a firm believer that human performance is complete. I mean, we have not tapped human potential at all. I mean, there's so many souls that are on the sidelines. And you could say, I would say the vast majority of humanity is not engaged and is not achieving their potential. All of us, of course, if we had more time, we get into that in more detail. But I think that Rocky's theory of relevance is really critical. I just would just offer to Rocky, if there's anything I can do to support, that I'm happy to do that. I love the concept, and it's exactly, my mindset, and actually is very aligned with my aspiration to contribute to the quality of life for everyone. Certainly, Chuck and I kind of focus on Florida right now, trying to manage it, and to get the best impact for our effort. We thought that working on the state of Florida would be the best thing to do. But as you're walking that out, Rocky, I'm going to be following it, and I'm very interested in see what you do with that, because it's critically important. And I'll
Super.
Please
give
do,
it over to
again,
Chuck.
please do, Mike.
Rocky, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little closing comment.
Thrilling to be with you, gentlemen, and recapture the spark of MAGA, my new theory of relevance. I'm really excited for humanity, and I know that's crazy to say that. It's maybe I'm having a Churchillian thought, but we're under a lot of stress now. The nation's been through trauma recently with these fantastic public murders and assassinations. And so this is really a time, though, for us to focus on who we are and where we can go. And God wants to use all of us. Mike, I'm going to lean on you for property advice.
Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button there. Didn't mean to cut you off there, Rocky, but we are out of time. Thank you, Rocky, so much for joining us, and possibly you can join us again. And thank you all for tuning in to our twice weekly live stream. Please follow us on Facebook at Restoring Our American Republic, or check us out on YouTube at Restoring Our American Republic -ROAR. Please like and share the program. And remember, if you're unwilling to govern yourself, you will be governed by tyrants. See you next time. And meanwhile, God bless you. God bless President Donald J. Trump. And God bless America.